over the last few years, people, and especially my spiritual endeavors, have fallen away. I've always been someone who would drop everything to help someone in need, but no more. What is there to be learned from what this feels like, the cleaning of my slate? Is there anything else you would like to add to that?
Um, well, like I said, it feels like a lot of things have dropped away from me over the last few years, either relationships, people, um, interests, especially in spirituality. And I know that in past experience, the universe has always given me a tap, a nudge, a shove, and a final push when I was heading in a wrong direction. And this almost feels like the universe is trying to lead me in a new direction, but I thought I was on a good path at that point, but I'm not quite sure what direction it wants to lead me into. It just feels like it's cleaned everything away and it's trying to open me up to something else, but it just hasn't felt like there's anything coming. Um, so if I can get any advice on that, I would appreciate it.
Certainly. Let us discuss the words in the question that said, no more.
Well, over the years, as I said, I would drop everything to help somebody in need. And it just felt, again, that universal push tries to teach me a lesson every now and then. And lately, since I've been trying to help people, it ends up being more like being taken advantage and not being a good experience in the form of helping people, whereas people in the opposite way are actually taking advantage of my nature.
When you used to drop everything, as you say, to help someone, were there times when you did not want to?
Sometimes. Most of the times I felt like there was a general need, a very, it was needed. Somebody actually just needed that helping hand. And sometimes it became a burden, but most of the time it felt good that I was able to help, whether I wanted to or not.
And we have to look at that, whether you wanted to or not. There is the implication here that whether you wanted to or not, that sounds like a job, doesn't it?
Sort of, yeah.
And so the idea of giving, the idea of loving is one that feels good. But there has to also be a balance and recognition of self, what is also good for you at the time, whether you wanted to or not. Why would you do anything that you don't want to do? Let's bring this circular back to self. Yes?
I just got an aha.
Why would you do anything
I
that you
guess,
didn't want to do?
no, you're right. I think it was, like I said, I have an aha moment. I got to get it out. I think it was mainly because people looked at me as that person, that helper. I can tell you from when I was a teenager how that was my role. And I was the one who always gave the advice, who was always there to help. And you're right, it ended up being like a job. It was an expectation. And what ended up happening was that in my time of need, in my time of needing that help, it was almost like people didn't know how to react, or like that wasn't my role. I mean, why are you asking me for help? This is not your role. Your role is to help me. So, like I said, after a while, it just felt like it wasn't as pleasurable anymore, but everybody expected me to be that way.
Yes. And so to fulfill the terms of that expectation, you would do things whether you wanted to or not. And this is what's important about understanding that. So when you were a teenager, you were still a child and you were learning that how to interact with those around you, and that those interactions came with certain responses and expectations that would form an integral part of your identity. And that part of your identity was formed in that you would help people, because assistance, you were the place that assistance could be retrieved, whether you wanted to or not. And Here's what's problematic with that position. It does not take time to honor self. Sometimes the best help that you can offer is to say no. Sometimes when you have a choice to do something that you don't want to do, and then to do something that you would rather be doing, that moment that you honor yourself is when you are refueling your own emotional, energetic tank. And it has not been as filled as it could be because you continue this pattern into adulthood. And sometimes the healthiest thing that you could do for yourself is to very nicely say, I would like to help, but I can't. Or just to say no. Because in doing that, you're deciding to utilize your power in the present moment to do something that feels better. And this is the problem. This is that space in between that I discussed earlier. To find your place of joy and excitement and then to act on it. But then most times what humans do is they do something different than acting on their joy, acting on love, acting on, and I don't always mean love for self. Somewhere you created a belief that loving others was more important than loving you, that others' needs were more important than meeting your own. And so this may be a time then that you can spend in reflection, followed up by actions, which are thoughts in motion, on doing things daily that make you feel good, honoring self, getting more in touch with your intuitive aspects, your higher self, your connection to all that is, your connection to the universe and everything in it. First comes from the energetic place of being grounded in self. You cannot give what you don't have to offer, you see. And so if you are not offering yourself those moments, honoring yourself with those moments, how can you expand with worthiness? How can you then expand in more self-love? And then if you are not expanding in worthiness and love and trusting oneself, when you didn't want to do something, that was the time to not do it. That was a communication from you, not your rational mind, your intuitive mind, your higher self, your clairvoyant self, your psychic self, to stand down for yourself, you see. And so every time you moved against that, it doesn't feel fun. Every time you move against yourself, every time you move against the natural inclination of the energy that has created universes, which is unconditional love, every time you move away from that, it's not going to feel good. That's what your feelings are there for. They serve as your barometer. Then there's a saying, if it doesn't feel good, don't do it. You don't owe an explanation. You didn't come here to apologize to anyone. This is not the value fulfillment that you came forth into your body to achieve, you see. You came forward to achieve joy, to achieve that feeling of worthiness, that feeling of connectedness, that feeling of coherence, the mind-heart coherence, mind, body, spirit coherence with self first. From that energy, you can transmit a whole lot of love and support and assistance out into the world. From that building energy resonance, you have a lot more to give. But it's like a fuel tank that you've been only putting in just enough fuel to keep it going. You've been surviving, but not thriving, you see. And so for you, it is going to be very important for you to take actions every day that honor you, that support and help you, that give assistance to you. And the best way to do that is to do things that make you feel good, to think of something that makes you feel excited, that makes you feel interested, passionate, curious, and act on it. Act on it right away. Don't delay. Don't find a laundry list of things to do in the interim. Find that thought that feels good to you and act on it. Act on it. You see, this is how you increase the level of worthiness. Prioritizing you at least once a day is what's going to build the worthiness in you. The conscious, deliberate, focused thought of, with integrity, with love, taking actions that support you, whatever they are. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If you are sitting tomorrow and thinking of what makes you feel good, what would make you feel good to do, and let us say the original thought of taking a walk around the block. Yes, it's winter. Yes, it's cold. Put on a coat and honor that communication from you, for you see. And the more you incorporate this practice, the more you will have to be able to give to others, the more you're going to be able to gather the momentum of worthiness, the momentum of love, the momentum of trust. And that is going to be the energy that you're transmitting from your physical form. Understand this. You have a belief that was formed in childhood, as all of them were, most of them. You continue to generate limiting beliefs and reinforce old ones. But for the most part, most of your limiting beliefs come from childhood. That's where your thoughts come from, what you believe. Those thoughts produce energy resonance. Every time you're having a thought, and understand the average human being has approximately 70,000 thoughts a day. Do you know how much energy you're producing in the time that you're awake every day? A lot. And so the idea here is to become more harmonious with your original thoughts and act on them. In this way, you are consciously and deliberately focusing more towards your intuitive mind, which loves you. You love yourself very much. All that is loves you very much. There is an unimaginable level of love for you that is within you and around you in everything. And all you have to do once a day to increase your ability to perceive this energy is to honor yourself once a day. What would you like to do? And act on it immediately. And then you can do the other things. Whatever didn't get done wasn't supposed to get done anyway. But the action of honoring you, honoring self, expanding your level of worthiness, consciously taking an action every day that fulfills the idea, that supports the idea that once a day you're worth doing something for you. And you making that a daily practice is going to expand your sense of worthiness. You already are worthy, but now the idea is to move your energy into a place where you can elevate that energy resonance and feel even more worthiness. More is better. Easy is the operative word. All you've got to do is prioritize you every day, once a day, and then you can do all of the other things. This conscious action on your part is going to increase the amount of love that you are able to resonate in your own physical frame. For when you have a thought, the cells and atoms and molecules of your body respond to those thoughts in your now moments. So if you're taking a now moment to contemplate something that feels exciting or delicious or good or happy or joyful or passionate for you, and then you actually take an action on that right away, you are building the momentum of worthiness, of self-love. You are expanding love energetically within the cells and atoms and molecules of your actual body. Now, you can't see this with your human eyes, but that is what is happening. And when your physical form starts to vibrate and pulse and transmit an energy that is more worthy, more loving, more supportive, that is when the information, the clarity that you want to get from the universe, from your higher self, from your guides, your angels, your teachers, that is when the clarity is going to start rolling in. But you have to create the energy highway that will allow the information to come to you in the form of original thought through your intuitive mind, through your intuitive aspects. Everything you want to know, you could have known already by now. There's no fault in that, but you can know it tomorrow. You can know it tonight, you see. And the way you start to pave that new energy transmission is to create more sense of worthiness, more of an emotion of love for you by putting an action, which is a thought in motion, behind that intention once a day, just for you, just because, no matter what. More?
That makes sense. It's all the cleaning of the slate, the falling away is actually to help me focus more on myself, actually. Take everybody out of the picture and focus on yourself.
Yes, and do not hesitate.
Thank you.
Find your moment of excitement. Find your moment of passion, joy, pleasure. Pleasure. There are a whole host of things that might feel pleasurable to you. For some, it's chocolate. For some, it's a nice brisk walk. For some, it's other things. For everybody, it's different. Find those places of pleasure and act on them. Act on them and create more space of worthiness and love for self within you. When you have done that, believe me when I tell you, the universe will cooperatively create with you and will reveal a whole host of people and circumstances that you will enjoy interacting with. And no matter what those interactions are, maintain the priority of you for you every day, even though life will become more of a skip and a dance, even though you're enjoying life so much more than you were before. Never stop that one time a day when you prioritize yourself, that time when you become more, when you create more worthiness, you create more love, you see.
Thank you. Resonates. Thank you very much.